Howdy, 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 everybody. Welcome to the iWRL here at wonderful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. I'm Austin Knight. I am joined by Tyler Maxson and Daniel Dohair, and we're about to go racing for round 5 for the World Racing League. Tyler, Daniel, how are y'all doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Austin. I'm just trying to sort out the last of a little bit of technical issues that we had here that just get our broadcast started tonight. We do apologize for those last-second technical difficulties, but hey, whenever you're working live, that is some of the time what happens. But we're at the beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and it's going to be an amazing night of action tonight for sure. This track always provides good racing, and we're already going through the grid here. So, Austin, take us through it.
Starting off on pole, it's Ryan Galloway ahead of Elliott Seeker, Billy Smith II, David Stabb, John D. Price, Chris Pies, Leif Peterson, John Mimmer, Avery Kundell, Will Choice, Tom Gradwell, Richard Edge in 12th place. They're followed up in 13th by Tom Gradwell, Peter Mornan, Brent Mosing, James Swearing, and Christopher Hang with Aaron Nash at the back of our GTO course. And I believe we're already underway racing.
And I believe we are here. We'll jump to that, and you'll get to see everyone on the left-hand side of your screen. So down into turn number 1 here, it's Ryan Galloway leading the field out, and he always spins. Galloway is around, and he's going to lose a lot of spots.
There was a car going backwards on the front straight. I believe I just saw that. But that was massive.
It looks like we had one of the GT4 drivers make a pretty unsafe entrance back onto the track here. So it's a good thing that the GP1 TCR cars were able to avoid the mess.
was a crazy start for the GT4 cars. We just have cars going everywhere for me right now. I am going to try to fix that.
And again, we apologize for the technical difficulties we had getting this broadcast underway, but we are here indeed. So we'll currently just kind of go through each one of your fields to try to give a little bit of normality to you. Currently looking at your Audi TCR leader, and there's more contact behind. That's Christopher Heen, and I can't quite tell exactly who that was in the Audi TCRs that made contact with him. The Mustang group is now coming by. But this has certainly been an interesting first lap, Austin. I mean, there's been a lot that's happened, and we're only now 1 minute and 35 seconds into this race.
Yeah, a lot's happened so far. There's so many things that I can't really keep up with it.
Yeah, Austin, I think that's exactly right. I mean, we have 52 cars on track right now, and it's the track's a little more than 2 miles long. It's only 2 really good passing zones. This is definitely going to get messy.
It definitely is going to get messy indeed, and it's going to make for a amazing race to be watching.
Yeah, certainly will indeed. Let's check back in on your leader, though. In GT4, Galloway went for the spin, obviously, on lap number 1, and it's now Elliot Skier who leads this one out. We have side-by-side for 7th position. It's Abri Kundal and Will Choice. Kundal down the inside, and we'll get that move done quite easily there. So Choice down into 8th spot now, and not having the greatest of starts in general for most of these guys. Well, actually, to be honest with you, most of these guys got off to a good start. It was just a few handful of drivers that have had issues, and that's James Swearigan also having issues. Gets passed by your whole TCR field here, so he'll drop down to quite a few positions. So a few of the slower classes now are actually starting to catch up to the faster classes whenever they've had their instance.
Yeah, we were looking in practice. The TCR cars are actually faster than some of the GT4s, so that's going to be very interesting to see on how they fight with each other. I know the GT4s, they excel in some spots, but the TCRs excel in a lot of spots around this track. So the battle between TCR and GT4 is very close here.
Yeah, the battle between TCR and GT4, definitely a close one here. But you can see Musser, he's run wide, and that's now allowed Paul Savanek up into the race lead. He's currently got 0.6 of a second over Musser, and then Adam Freira will also try to make a move here on Jordan Musser. He's currently within 0.3 of a second of him. Let's try to ride on board. Let's go on the roof cam, see if he can make anything in that E-Euro parts livery. And another mistake by Musser. That's going to cost him yet another position on the racetrack. So Musser's made 2 mistakes in a matter of a few corners, and it's cost him a lead, and now he's all the way back to 3rd, barely even hanging on to the podium positions at the moment.
And this action coming into turn 4 here is exactly what we're talking about. Earlier when we said
contact.
Contact between Savanek, Ferla, and Musser.
It's a 76 car again.
Daniel Sadro is involved in that one as well. Let's watch it on board with that one. So he sees it happening.
Oh.
What just happened?
Well, it's a 76 of Michael Melkel, who's been struggling with that car all day. He was on the outside of the 2 TCR cars that was on the inside, and he was just spinning it, going wide, went a little bit too heavy onto the brakes, and that just causes chain reaction that you see sometimes on the freeway. You know, those slinky effects I used to call them, but they're just nasty to try to avoid.
Yeah, they most certainly are here, and you can even see your current race leader, Paul Savanek. He's all over the back of those GT4s. And you talked about that, Austin, where, the GT4 guys aren't always faster than the TCR guys. Usually the faster TCRs are actually quicker than the majority of the GT4 field. And if we're looking at fastest lap times right now, Paul Savanek, a 31.0. That would put him currently P7 in the GT4 field. RJ Till, run wide here. in your Mustangs, and these are your different classes. Sorry, those are not your different classes. I'll get that fixed momentarily. But we have 4 different classes out here today. We have the GPOs, the GP1s, the GP2s, the GP3s out on circuit. So there is a few different classes of cars out there.
Yeah, this multi-class field and this giant field, the GT4s, TCRs, Mustangs, and good old MX-5s. And in this current week, it's just insane to see this amount of numbers. I think we might need to start having a cap on how many people need to enter here because iRacing is pretty much set on fire to my computer right now.
Yeah, it pretty much did the exact same thing to me as well, and that was part of our issues getting this broadcast up and running. My computer and our timing software didn't mesh very well with having this many cars on the grid. So I've never seen that happen before, where there is literally too many cars on the grid. But I guess that's a good problem to have for you guys, Daniel, isn't it? Where you've got to literally turn people away saying we have too many of you.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tyler. I don't think we have that problem yet here, but we do currently. We were expecting to cut the servers off around 60 drivers, and we're starting to run up into that limit here. Seems like we're seeing a large number of entries due to the cancellations of the physical track racing in most of the country here. So, looking like it's going to be a fun day.
It definitely is. 5 laps into this 1-hour race as Austin Henry leading out the Mustangs. Adam Rylance leading out the MX-5s. He's in a good old battle with Joseph right behind him in the GP3s.
And certainly,
and the MX-5s, they're very spread out right now.
Yeah, they really are. They're one of the more spread out classes, but Stevie Ray is in a battle here with Lucas Wallace. They will run down the straightaway here. So the 303 versus the 311. Ray on the outside, Wallace on the inside. Wallace will
that's a good hold.
And as they're coming up over Madness here, you can really see how the off-camber nature of that corner plays an issue to the cars out on the wider side. They kind of lose a little speed and traction, where on some other corners, you could actually keep that extra speed through. It really gave Stevie Ray the advantage.
And Stevie Ray had the advantage as defending on the outside is actually more beneficial than defending onto the inside, since he has that long left-hander over Madness and that drop down coming off of there. My favorite section of the track, honestly. It just benefits you so well if you're defending on the outside.
And you've got a little experience racing on this track, don't you, Austin?
Yes, 40 yards.
We'll have to hear more about that later.
I think that's your favorite line whenever we come to Mid-Ohio. Every single time I've done a broadcast with you in Mid-Ohio, you've mentioned how you made it 40 yards here, which, hey, I mean, it is pretty cool. I think you're probably one of the only people that says they've only raced 40 yards in Mid-Ohio. But I need to hear this story in full, because I've never heard this story in full, and that is definitely something we're going to need to get you to talk about later on.
It's not... It's the thing. The reason why I say it because it wasn't my fault, and I had nothing else to do with it, and it's the only time I've raced here. So, yeah. When it gets to that point, I'll say it. But right now, we got a good old battle. Looking at the 99 of Tom Gradwell. So he comes across turn 1, hopping over that curve. David Stabs defending from Price. They're having a good old battle in 3rd and 4th, so they come across the IndyCar start-finish line. Well, the IndyCar start line, and Stab gets onto the grass into the braking zone. And that was actually Price, and he goes off into China Bay. Let's get a quick replay. Get back wheel into the braking zone. Little bit of a hip check. Some body damage might have come from that, but that is very unfortunate for John D. Price.
Yeah, and I think that, that kind of brings a little bit of the track to light here. This track has a lot of rolling hills, a little bit of camber changes through the corners, and so it creates a lot of challenge for the drivers. There aren't a lot of convenient passing zones, and the grip through each corner is a little bit dynamically different as you're going through the different phases of the corner. So definitely a place where it's harder to transition from the physical track to the sim. What are your guys' thoughts?
This is definitely a driver's track. All the moves are going to have to made over time. You're going to have to battle it out, and you're going to have to play some mind games with the car ahead of you to try to make the mistake. Because, as you said, there are not a lot of overtaking opportunities. The only overtaking opportunity that I can see right now are right here in Keyhill, where you can send one up the inside and just yeet it up there, or at China Harbor, which is just at the end of this straight. These are the only two overtaking spots that I know of, but the classes and the overtaking of slower cars or faster cars are going to be the key here, and avoiding incidents.
And I think you're exactly right there, Austin. When you look at the speed differential between the classes, this is a track that's going to have one of the smallest speed differentials that we have on all season. Between our slowest class and our fastest class, there's only 10 seconds a lap different, and that's for people's best times. The average laps will be a little bit less than that. So, we're expecting to see a lot of action all race here today.
Yes, we are, but I just can't get over Mid-Ohio. It's just so fun seeing the up and down of track. And in some of these camera angles, you see two parts of the track. You see a car going the other way, and that almost gets the shoutcaster in me going, thinking there's been an incident, but no, there hasn't. But I just love Mid-Ohio so much. If you ever go to Mid-Ohio, it is an amazing place to watch a race and drive around on one of the track days.
Yeah, WRL had an event scheduled there this weekend that we had to cancel due to the coronavirus, response, and just make sure that we're doing our part to not propagate, sickness everywhere. But, definitely a sad day because everyone loves this track, and it's one of my personal favorites to drive at.
It's definitely up there, and my personal favorites. Practice sessions, amazing. Race sessions, not so much.
Yeah, and it's, I guess as we're looking down the field here, down into GP1 field, looks like we still have a pretty good battle between Janison and Sabelski coming around turn 1 here. You can see, I guess their gap is down to 0.2 of a second as they, charge out of turn 1 down towards the keyhole in turn 2. We may actually have and Furla is going to make a run on it too. We got a 3-way battle for second.
Oh, Furla gets in the back,
pit maneuver,
saved it, and a little bit of bump and run, old school Dale Earnhardt style. Gets it to the back of him and shoves him out of the way. Let's ride on board with Adam Furla. And he's just gotten a lot of speed, closing up. They broke so early, heading for Keyhole. And Furla just comes down the inside. The spot was there, and he just punts him out of the way. Thankfully, the front wheel drive saved that TCR from coming back going onto the grass. But Furla, driving through here like a wasp, is just going side to side, darting through traffic, trying to get around that MX-5. He's got Jansen still on his back end. And since the Mustangs and MX-5s are on here, the damage model for the TCRs and GT4s will not be shown in all of its mere throwing glory. That's what I've been seeing a lot of in the IMSA Pilot Challenge, if you ever race in there.
I feel like that's like one of the only things that you actually can seem to throw off the TCR, because I have deliberately crashed that car into a wall very, very hard just to see what the damage was like, and that car's still fine. I mean, the tank TCR is still the tank TCR, so if anyone who hasn't tried out the new damage model is worried about that, don't worry. The TCR is still a tank. You can still bounce it off a wall.
Just don't run into the GT4s.
Yes, don't run into the GT4s, because then the car explodes.
Especially mine.
And it looks like we had Brent Mosen and Aaron Nash there duking it out through the keyhole. I'm not sure if Brent was able to complete a pass on him there.
Yeah, Mosen and Nash, very close. Nash, I believe Nash was a little optimistic going to the keyhole. And that MX-5 just gave him a little bit of trouble. But it's looking like Nash is lining up for another attack. So this is definitely a fight we need to stay on.
Yeah, and so this is a track where, throughout the season, you'll see more of the drivers make their moves at the end of a long straight, or coming up into the entry of a long straight, because it gives them some room to make that overtake. But, this is a track, like we said earlier, there's only a couple corners at the end of long straights, and otherwise you have a lot of rolling hills, a lot of non-traditional passing zones. So it'll really stress the drivers to plan their moves and make sure they account for, a wheel stepping out here or there, like we've seen in these first 15 minutes a number of times.
Something I've actually found out that works a lot right here is karting lines. They work a lot better sometimes than a traditional racing line. So in Keel, if you're going up for an attempt, I've learned that if you're nose to tail with somebody and you got a clear track ahead of you, instead of going for the apex, go around the outside of the corner and you'll have more speed up onto the exit and you'll get a better jump on them and to try to harbor.
And in practice here today, coming down this long straight into turn 4, which we've been calling China Harbor, China Beach, we've actually seen a few cars lose it down the end of the braking zone and go straight off into the giant sand trap from which the corner derives its name.
And a little bit of a jumping contest has been held there as well.
I believe we saw a car go at least 50 yards there.
And Nash is not going to be happy like that. He's being held up by a being held up by a TCR. As we have family of one of the drivers in the chat. So we've been mentioning a lot of I've been mentioning why I don't like racing here. I guess it's time to tell the story. So. Back in the day, Tyler, you're gonna love this. Get your smile ready. Back in the day, I used to race in real life. Open wheel racing, USF 2000, all that stuff. I qualified 4th in here. I love this track. I love driving around it in simulators and all that stuff. Mid-Ohio, I lived in Ohio for a bit. And so this track and we kind of meshed very well. It's kind of reminds me of my home. So qualified 4th, best qualifying of the season. Driver's briefing, rolling start, going to be taking the IndyCar starting line. So after the keyhole and everything. So the entire rolling section, sitting in 4th place, judging my start and everything. And the leader takes it a little bit slower than I expected. The next thing you know, I'm facing the other way because I get rear-ended by another car. He just taps my wheel. And I caused I would say because I was the first car to get out of line, but I was hit, so I don't say me caused it. Basically, it was an 11-car crash, and I went into a wall 40 feet after the start-finish line.
All right, now I guess it makes sense a little bit why you have only 40 feet of experience on this track.
But Austin, do we have an actual measurement of that? Because it's very important that we have exact details of the story.
I'll go into Google Earth right now and plot out the start-finish line and where I was actually ended up against the wall. Because then I hit the wall and a tire hit me in the face. Dude, I don't remember much of it.
So basically, you just added insult to injury. Stevie Ray's down on the pit lane in your MX-5s. But so basically what you're saying is that the tire just added insult to injury to the entire incident that you had.
And we've got Staub, Pies, and Galloway all running amongst a gaggle of MX-5s here while we're chatting. That traffic has definitely made a difference and slowed down the lead car. Let Pies and Galloway catch up a bit.
And Galloway, obviously...
Yes, it did add insult to injury.
And Galloway, obviously, was the driver who had that lap 1 spin. He's done a nice job to recover, I will say that much. I mean, it's been an awesome recovery thus far for Galloway. He's currently just looking for a move here on Chris Pies. Will try to get himself up into 4th place, and then he'll work on the podium positions with Daniel Staub. And then he's got a long way to catch up before he gets to Billy Smith or Elliott Shear, and it'll be definitely difficult for him to do that, considering we're already 20 minutes into this race.
Okay.
Yeah,
Stat correction, 81 yards. I made it 81 yards, not 40 feet, 81 yards. I'm still sticking with 40 feet though.
And Galloway was able to make the pass on Pies there, but looks like Pies is going to come back at him here into China Beach.
Yeah, and Rye Galloway, he's having to defend here now from Chris Pies. Pies not able to make that move stick. So I think Galloway now has that pretty much secured, and he can go work on Daniel Stab at the moment because he's cleared him now by about 0.4 of a second. That Mustang has not helped Daniel Stab here, and he will lose a little bit of time now that you can literally see them all within one camera shot at the moment. Here on, as they work their way through the into the final sector now, one of the more challenging sectors in at least the GT4 car, because this car doesn't really like fast and flowing corners per se. It's more of kind of a slow speed corner car. At least in my personal experience, I found that. So I'm not so sure how this last sector is to drive for these guys.
Well, let's hop on board with Galloway, and I think he's going to give us a show on what it's like driving Mid-Ohio through the traffic and in a ding-dong battle for third. And we're back here in the iWRL. Galloway and Stab got onto the side of him as they came up into the carousel, but Stab staying ahead of Galloway. And this 3-car fight for P3 back through the field. We got Memer and Choice battling out for 9th place.
And it's starting to look like the GT4 cars are coming clear of the TCRs for the most part. I know earlier on it looked like we're going to have a lot more issues with traffic between Paul, Savelski, and Ferla all running up into the back of the GT4s. But it looks like there's most of that traffic has cleared the way for them.
I can't agree more.
Ooh.
As Galloway's looking down the inside, Stab holding around that outside line. A little bit of swappy action. Oh no, Stab gets to the back of Galloway gets to the back of Stab, and Stab goes around. Galloway moves up into 3rd place. You can get very rough here, but not that rough, especially going over a crest. It just upsets the car so much with just so little.
Yeah, what's really interesting about that is, Galloway and Pies are currently battling for the lead in the GTO series for the season. And Pies has been doing it really with clean race bonuses. And Galloway, he's got a few more incidents than Chris Pies. And, things like those that probably add up.
The rough and tuck Buccaneer look of Galloway compared to the very clean and cautious other drivers. But some drivers have their driving style. I know Tyler, when he started in the MX-5, he's not going to like me saying this, but he had a reputation of sending a car into a wall at Coda.
I would like to correct you on that one. I did not send the car in the wall. I got sent into the wall. And whenever I first started driving the MX-5 on iRacing, yes, I did have a reputation for sort of kind of rolling the car at the Roval. Which I think is still the single greatest YouTube clip in the history of YouTube, at least for sim racing. With your and Marco's description of the incident, it was awesome.
It also gave you a nickname that I will not repeat anymore, but it gave you a wonderful nickname.
Yeah, I prefer that not be repeated, thanks.
the temptations there, though.
And we can really see some of the traffic bunching up behind these Miatas.
Yeah, and that's one of the more tough things, I think, about Mid-Ohio is the fact that the traffic is, let's just say, tough. I think that's a good way to put it. Extremely tough to deal with at Mid-Ohio. As you can see there, Pies and Patterson, they're battling it out. They have an MX-5 in between them. It's just Patterson and Price here battling this out. And you can see they're 3 wide there momentarily. Patterson, Price on the outside, Patterson on the inside. Patterson will easily get that move. Now the Miata actually comes back at him, and Price is now all up and in the grass, but he'll keep that car going in a straight line and will not eject stage left.
That Miata is a bit of a sin right there. A, for just trying to send it up the inside of a class that's fast to you. B, for putting Lexus on the Sun banner. But good try, though.
Oh, and there's a TCR car stopped. That is, who is that?
That would be,
That'd be one of your lower. Oh, this is Alex Nelson. He's trying to get across into the pit lane.
Well, that's one way of trying to to wait for traffic, just parking it onto the apex of the corner right across from the pit lane. Thankfully, you didn't take anyone out of there and thought ahead, but that local yellow must have been very annoying. So we got Mr. and Fertila in a battle right here with these 4 other cars. That GT4 providing a good draft, though.
Zabrowski, he's not that far off of a Jordan Musser here for a battle in class. Their class leading driver of Paul Zavanek. Let's just say that he is well out in the race lead and probably not going to be touched from the majority of this race unless he makes a very, very, very large mistake, because I think he's about 20 seconds now out ahead of his nearest competitor.
Yeah. Nearest competitor to Paul Zavanek, a lot.
Yeah, I think it's definitely safe to say that he is well out ahead of the competition. And
he's even faster than some of the GT4 cars.
Yeah, he's driven a great race thus far, and is still just trudging along in that Audi TCR, leading the field out. Now let's jump back. We're going to check out your Mustang field.
Austin Henry leading it out. Georgian putting on a good race, 5 seconds ahead of Chris DeShong in second place.
Let's take a look.
Chris DeShong will definitely be a driver to watch in that race. He's been doing really well, finishing high, top 2 in each of our previous 4 races in the Mustang class. So, we should look for him to make a move on Henry before the race ends.
And then we'll check out your MX-5s here. This is Adam Reliance currently leading this field out. Jared Joseph is just about 3.5 seconds behind in second. Then it's Lucas Wallace, Todd Carver, who I think just had an incident, actually. Let's see if I can quickly catch a replay of that. Let's actually just go back a little bit more here and see. He was all over the back of Lucas Wallace, and then now is nearly 1.5 seconds back, so he has not had... that's a GT4 car. Nice save, though.
Great save.
Really
kept
nice
it off
save.
the grass. It's just a punt and a little bit of front-end damage from the GT4 getting back into him and correcting his ways, but very nice save. Very well done.
I know Jared Joseph will be liking that. Although the two, I believe, are teammates, those are the two fighting for the top spot in the GP3 season points this year. So it's it'd be interesting to see how traffic impacts the rest of the race. So.
Yeah, traffic with this increased fuel size is definitely going to increase it. And you want to know why they call it Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course? Well, it is a track made for sports cars and sports car racing, and you get to see it's a busy track as we pop up our mini map right there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a spot on the track that doesn't have a car right now. You should always be able to see the person in front of you is what it looks like.
Your mirrors will be full, and your eyes will also be full. And if you have a habit of looking in your mirrors, you're gonna have a bad time here. But if you're a spectator at any sports car event here, you're gonna be having a great time. Looks like we have an incident off in the carousel, actually. That's Alex Nelson. Oh, that's a 22 GT4.
So it looks like we're coming up, towards the early end of the, I guess, the fueling window. We're expecting each of these classes to have to fuel at least once between 30 and 45 minutes into the race here. So I think it'll be a little bit of a question to see when people decide to pit. Each of these drivers do have one quick repair to deal with some of the carnage that comes from having a 52-car field. But generally you'll find them saving and holding on to that for when they really need it.
Definitely, strategy is going to be playing a big part here at Mid-Ohio. Halfway through, it pretty much just says fuel window is open. We have seen some people already go into the pits, but with this amount of cars on here, it's definitely when and where, because that car in front of you that you're following might be heading into the pits directly when you are, and that's going to mess up your pit entry, especially if you're not expecting them to go into the pits.
Austin, yeah, and I think one of the things to remember is this pit entry is a little bit tricky. The road actually falls away from right as you come in and make the turn behind the wall. So it's actually really common to see drivers cook it a little too hot out of the carousel into the pit entry and end up off track in the wall.
We already see some guys heading into the pit lane right now. You can follow pit stops at the bottom of their screen with their initials. It will show you on how long they're in the pits. And how long their total pit time was and where they're expected to come out right there. But yeah, pit entry and pit exit is going to be very crucial, because that pit exit goes directly onto the apex of turn 1, and that turn 1 has the giant curb right there. You do not want to go over that on pit exit, because A, that'll give you a penalty, and B, that'll send you spinning around, because these cars do not like curbs.
That's exactly right. Not to mention all the cars coming around turn 1 will be, hitting you 90, 95 miles an hour. So very high speed left on this track.
High speed track, high intensity track, and a high track on tires too.
That is one thing that I noticed last time I was here, is that this track is a little bit more abrasive and rougher on the tires than you'd expect.
Ooh, that was a very tasty switchback move by the 22 car right there. So we're looking at Will Choice trying to carve his way through there. 22 is the lap down. We know this. We saw him actually being parked on to the curb, parked on the outside of carousel as John Meemer is heading into the pit lane. It's just so busy right there. And there was a touch.
Nice recovery.
Aaron Nash getting into him.
Yeah, and I guess, for those that, the viewers that are new to, we've been mentioning a lot of different types of cars, a lot of different rules here. We'll just give you a quick overview. So this is iWRL. It's clearly a multi-class racing series that does this 1-hour enduro format. That poor Miata. That poor Miata.
Miata got sent through a table right there, and he might have some suspension damage from that. Let's get a replay of this WrestleMania moment of just a pure body slam through the keyhole.
I don't think he saw him there.
Oh, and the 76 got into the back of the 22 GT4.
hopefully there's no aero damage on those GT4s, because I believe one of them was Will Choice, who was trying to make a move up the, up the list here.
Choice was the car ahead of him. It was Nash who turned the MX-5.
Okay.
No,
Good
it was
catch.
Choice that body. It was Choice that body slammed him, and Nash that got held up. But it looks like they're caught up back again, and I do think Choice has some damage. So it's going to come down to pit stops, where they're going to pit stop, and who's going to be getting under each other's skins. But I think Nash is under Choice's skin a lot right now. And they got another MX-5 ahead of him, so if you're that MX-5, tighten your belts a little bit. As Choice hops over the inside curb, trying to clear him as fast as he can.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would try that myself, but for fear of losing the car. Ooh, we got a duking it out. Furla and Musser definitely taking a tight inside line there in the TCR car.
Yeah, Furla ahead of Musser. Musser looking to get ahead of Furla. They got an MX-5 right there. That late move could catch some people out. Who's going to be the last late breakers heading into this braking zone, and which one of them are going to go into the pits first? Because 4th place in the GT4 category just went into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like Chris Pies decided to take an early pit stop here, and it was a pretty quick one, so it doesn't look like he took tires. One of the questions on the YouTube chat was, will tires and fuel make a difference, or is it primarily just fuel? I think it's going to depend on the car here. The GT4s look like they're pretty easy on the tires. What's your experience with that, Austin?
Oh, I know fuel is definitely going to have an impact because you can't finish a race with no fuel. Tires, it's going to give you an advantage to pit for tires, but you're going to lose a lot of time in the pit stop. And especially in this heavy traffic, we're going to be seeing a lot of struggling with the tires as Furla setting up onto the inside, grinding up onto that curve. They're door to door, wheel to wheel, and they got GT4 right behind them. They're still side by side as they're racing up to the key on. Oh my goodness, they're bump trapped. What is going on?
Poor Furla.
Furla is not happy about what just happened. Which GT4 was that? Is that the 60? That's the 69 of John Meemer. And what just happened? Oh my goodness.
And John Meemer was running. John Meemer was running in P6 in GT4, so definitely you'd expect him to know what he's doing. Maybe he had some equipment failure.
Was that just brake failure? What? I am absolutely confused on what the heck just happened. Nothing was said in chat. That is... I've never seen that.
I guess it's one way to move someone in front of you.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to dispose of the person ahead of you. If you really want to dispose of them, just use them as your brakes and then just go full speed into the wall. But that was really confusing incident. It almost looked like brake failure, like you had said, Daniel, but like it wasn't. It was weird because
accelerated.
Yeah, like he accelerated again. Was it like his pedals disconnecting and then just like reconnecting again? Because I know that is a thing
now.
Well, only in sim racing. Only in sim racing.
I've seen it happen in real life.
I was gonna say
Jimmy Johnson, Watkins Glen.
I've definitely seen
Bryson
actual brake pedal failures, but I've never seen nothing like we have in sim racing, where your pedals can actually disconnect from your wheel and then reconnect to your wheel. But then whatever they disconnect from your wheel, you have no clue what it's gonna do. I mean, it could just go full gas on you for all you know.
Marcus Ericsson at Monza. No, that was DRS failure. I know there's a Euro truck brake failure video that Marco loves to send around of the car jumping into the catch fence and taking down 3 trees.
That's what I've That's what I've also never understood about Euro truck racing. is whenever they have the catch fences, what are the catch fences going to do against a massive semi-truck? Like, the semi-trucks are going to go right through the catch fence.
Well, they're going to try to catch it. I actually don't understand. Yeah. Well, they aren't going to take the catch fence down. They're just there to be there and hopefully keep the crash contained.
That's one thing that's wonderful about sim racing is that you can literally crash hard as you want to, and you're never gonna get hurt in the process. That is like one of the nicest things about sim racing is that you can push these cars to the absolute ragged edge with absolutely no consequence.
Well, you do lose a little bit of safety rating and some enjoyment from having wrecked the car, I think, right?
Yeah, you do lose that, but at least, like, in real life, it's a little bit different. In iRacing, you lose safety rating, and in most cases, iRating as well. But in real life, you lose limbs and possibly your life if you go flying into the wall that hard. So it's still brain cells. And it's still consequences. It's just not as bad ones, I think.
Was that Will Choice who just went off a little bit hot in Madness there?
That was Will Choice. We're going to replay that one there. Exactly happened. Let's see if we can get it. Yeah, just a little bit too hot there for Will Choice. Oh. Able to recover that one nicely. Luckily.
And that's definitely one of the trickiest corners on the track. Sorry for cutting you off there, Tyler. Definitely one of the tricky corners because it falls away from you so quickly.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that's just one of the more understeery corners on the racetrack. I know that's where a lot of drivers struggle with here, and you can see Zavonik trying to make a move past a GT4 car. So that just shows how quick those GT4 cars really are at a track like this, where it's just made for touring car racing and sports cars in general.
The Middle is definitely a staple of American racetracks. Not as large as some of the, as most of the American racetracks that you would think would be a big hit, like Watkins Glen, Sonoma,
Coda later in the schedule.
Raceway Laguna Seca. I was about to say Coda. And then some of those good old street circuits that are just hidden out through the country. Savannah, I'm looking at you.
And unfortunately, I mean, I would love more street circuits in iRacing. You know, I feel like that's one of those are really the hidden gems that we haven't yet gotten too much in iRacing. You know, we've gotten a lot of these actual road courses and whatnot, and we're starting to really get, and obviously we have road courses from all over the world, but we just don't have a lot of street races. I want more street races.
And it looks like Rye Galloway just pitted, and he may have taken tires. That was a rather long pit window there. I think Chris Pye's got the jump on him for taking that early pit stop.
Yeah, it's a second faster than Leif Peterson's pit stop. So they're all averaging about 9 seconds, but Elliott Skier, the GT4 leader, the overall leader, just had a 10-second pit stop. So if anyone was going to take tires, I think it would be him.
Maybe he just had a pit limiter misconfigured in the pit lane there or something. Ooh.
10 seconds in the box compared to the 8 seconds of David Stab. I think that might have been a damage related. Can never know for sure on who has the preferred. As this is Alex Nelson and his TCR. Heading into the carousel. Do I spell a little bit of spice? Yes, I do. Oh, it's just so tough driving a front-wheel drive car back on a track.
And so, you know, I think that's exactly right, Austin. You know, in practice, some of the drivers, when they were doing some of their long stint testing in the TCRs, were, you know, complaining that this track has a little bit more, you know, push, mid-corner, late-corner push than they had seen at some of the other tracks during the season. So, you know, it could be that for the TCRs, tires are a bigger worry than, you know, than it might be for some of the other classes.
Yeah, front-wheel drive cars are scrub-heavy cars, as I like to call them. As somebody who drives a front-wheel drive car as my daily driver, I do notice I scrub the wheels kind of a lot when I drive mountain roads.
And that's even something that I found with the real TCR car is that, like, really, you can avoid it, but it's really tough sometimes to avoid that front wheel scrub. You've kind of really got to drive the car. You basically just I mean, if you want to avoid that at all costs, you pretty much just have to baby the car down into the corner and then just hope that it doesn't go whenever you try to roll the center. So it's certainly tough, you know, and at a track like this where you kind of have to get on the power, you're really scrubbing those tires, and then whenever you're trying to do that for 60 minutes, the car doesn't really like that, per se. But I know that these guys can get 2 tires done well in a normal pit stop, so I'm not quite sure how it will work with the limited fuel that we have, but I'm sure that we'll be seeing the majority, or at least a couple of the TCR guys possibly gamble and go for 2 tires in the front.
You definitely. So expect the TCR guys to be going for a 2-tire strategy if they haven't gone into the pits already. Which Paul Stavanik, Jordan Mooser, and Brian Savelski have not.
And it looks like we may have had a few drivers in the Mustang class actually trade positions a little bit here. How's the battle for first and second looking there?
Yeah, Chris DeJong is actually ahead of Austin Henry.
Yeah, DeJong has gotten ahead of Henry, and they've both pit. But DeJong's pit stop was about a good 5-6 seconds faster, and that was about the gap leaving the pit lane originally, I think. But somehow it's up to 21 seconds here for DeJong over Henry.
I believe Henry had an incident with another lower class car. Got pushed off track and had a incident. Because that's the only way that I can see that happen. But this is going to come down to the wire in the Mustangs with just 13 minutes to go here at Mid-Ohio.
I think he's come into the pits twice. I think Henry has come into the pits twice.
Nah, I was showing him once.
Austin Henry has left the pit lane, according to live timing, twice.
It's showing once on my live timing.
It's showing once on my live timing, but on my instant log here, it's showing that he left the pit lane twice.
Did he cut into turn 1? And get a... Oh! He took tires.
Huh.
I think he may have came out of pit lane by cutting turn 1 and cutting into that curb. That's the only way that I can see that happening.
Possibly. I'm really confused here at exactly what happened to Austin Henry, because that's literally the only thing that I can find. I cannot find anything else.
Well, he's going to be clawing at the ground to try to catch up to Christian Strong, and we've seen that he did build up a 20-second gap earlier on in the race. Let's see if he can close it down now.
And now that we're down to these last 10 minutes, we've seen a couple drivers take some tires. It will be interesting to see if the tires Henry took will give him the extra pace. I think you're exactly right, Austin. Yeah, he did create a 20-second gap earlier.
But that was at the start of the race where the cars are much more bunched together. Now these cars, well, I can't really say that here because we're at Mid-Ohio. The only car that I can see on itself is the fourth place car, Price, who is just on his own, really. But they're much more tighter and much more aggressive at the start of races than the end.
Yeah, it seems so. As we go down the classes, it looks like, the top 3 and GT4 have kind of set themselves up a little ways apart. Price may still be, trying to keep it close to Pies. But, the GP1 and GP2 cars and the TCR and the Mustang seem to have set themselves up. How's the Miatas look?
The Miatas are looking good. We actually haven't had any on boards with a Miata or watched any of the Miatas, so I think it would be a good time to ride on board with Adam Rylance right now and see on how he's tackling Middle Hot with 10 minutes to go.
And you can see him coming down here into Thunder Alley, trying to set himself up to the right as much as he can while he's avoiding the traffic all around him swarming.
He's so hard. Your eyes are going to be fully in the mirrors and just trusting your spotter.
Yep. But this looks like he'll be able to get a short breath here as a couple cars swing by him on the left, going into turn 1.
It's just so scary in Breaking Zone when a faster car class is just sending it up there. As a very experienced GT3 driver in the IMSA series, I can tell you GTEs and Daytonas are lunatics. These guys much more controlled than them, and I've probably offended a GTE driver in chat. I'm sorry. It's not me, it's you.
Adam, I think he may be new. We haven't seen him at the top of the GP3 field in the last few races, so he's looking like he's pretty smooth and clean. Running this car here, giving Joseph and Carver a run for their money. Both of them are leading the GP3 field up until now.
Yeah, this might be one of the new drivers per this field increase that we've got going on here, and he is just putting on an absolute clinic.
Yep, and you can see in the in-car here as he's prepping to come up over that hill back into Thunder Valley. Yep. Yeah, really great control of that car as it crests the hill. You can hear him on the throttle. Yep, definitely clean.
Little bit of a drift up over that crest, but absolutely clean and smooth as butter.
So, Austin and Tyler, what are your predictions for some of these last couple battles to watch? Any place that you guys are excited for the action here?
I'm excited for this one right here. It's Leif Patterson and John Price here. These guys have started to close up a little bit, but Patterson gotten held up here by these MX-5s, but he was down to about 9/10 of a second momentarily. He's now back up to 2.4, so that battle's kind of relinquished now. But we've got a couple of battles through the field, but more of them are a little bit farther spread out than others. Really, most of the battles that we have right now are GT4 cars coming back through the field that had unfortunate incidents. And this is really...
Petersman's been on a roll ever since, and I'm expecting him to be very close. It's just he's got to deal with the traffic. He's been one of the more conservative traffic overtakers compared to Price. So that where he's going to lose all the time is going to be in the traffic, comparing on how Price is dealing it and where Price is overtaking the traffic. As you can see, Price ahead of him getting the overtake out on the straight on a Mustang, actually.
And I believe that was the leading Mustang of Chris DeJong. He was actually able to get by. It was indeed. And, yeah, like you said, Austin, Price is a lot more aggressive with traffic, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, I mean, if you get a little bit too aggressive, then obviously you can have an incident, but it isn't that bad to be aggressive because that saved Price 2 seconds that Patterson lost just by being that little bit slower with the traffic.
Indeed. Price is more the Buccaneer hold the knife between your teeth and send it type of guy, as Peterson's more of a methodical taker. But Peterson, we were speaking about safety points earlier, and Peterson's up there with the least incidents per race.
And that'll be good for a couple of season points for him. So if he can maintain that lead, that'd be a big bonus for him in the standings.
But anything can happen here at Mid-Ohio and here in 5 minutes. as David Stabs closed in on Kundal.
And Aubrey Kundal's been doing a great job this race of really making a move up the field. I feel like there were a couple times some traffic had some issues, created some problems for her, but running in 6th, this it's great. Definitely the best finish on the season so far.
Definitely a little bit of traffic with that Miata right there. They do have a Mustang. Are we going to see a send from Kundal? Kundal was looking out the inside. This would be a great opportunity for Stab to get a great exit there side-by-side, door-to-door. Almost covered contact with each other. And I think they did have a little bit of a touch. But Stab and Kundal both remaining pointed forward. They're both going to have to go down to the inside through the little kink down into China Beach. Oh, horrible part for Stab, being caught up with that Mustang up on their insides. And Kundal is just smiling as she looks in the mirror.
I think that's exactly right. This is a track, you guys said it right. It's a place where you have to be calculated with your aggression to make sure that you can, get through the traffic early and not allow it to cost you time. Yep.
Yeah, that really is the biggest defining factor of this racetrack. If you are fast with traffic, you will be fast here, because that is really, and whenever you're the fastest class or even the faster class, that's really the defining factor for your race. I mean, that can make or break how your race finishes. I mean, just look at Lev Patterson. He was under 0.8 of a second. Now it's 4.8 seconds due to the fact that he got through traffic slower than Price did. And the same thing here with Aubrey Kundal. Kundal got through the traffic a whole lot faster than David Staub has, and Staub's now paying the price for it.
Yeah, aggression is is definitely the key here at Mid-Ohio, but also safety. You can't be sending it on everyone else to be causing massive incidents, so that you're going to have a course marshal chasing you and trying to pull you out of their car.
Now, wouldn't that be wonderful if we had animated course marshals that would actually do stuff like that? Is it just me, or am I like the only person who would think that that would actually be really, really funny to watch on the broadcast?
Yeah, I think that would be great. But what I would like even more is if they used a hold up black flag and would point it at you, just to let you know you're doing something wrong.
That would be wonderful. And it would also be nice if race control could control when that gets done too. So like if you just have someone up in race control, they could just repeatedly spam the button to have somebody Billy Smith's in the wall.
Billy Smith, the second place GTO car, is in the wall. He's coming down Madness right now, down the inside of the 365 car, and oh no, judged it so wrong. And Billy Smith the second, he had a good lead over Chris Pies, 45 seconds ahead of him, but now Chris Pies is closing down, and this might be disastrous in the final 2 minutes of this race. And a huge shakeup in the GTO standings.
So you can see just that little tiny touch is all it did to send that car around. But Chris, and he just killed an MX-5. Wow!
Oh, nice recovery. Wow.
Okay.
Who's that driver?
Ben Wedge. This guy deserves a medal for that. That was incredible.
What a save by Wedge right there. He gets wedged off the track, pun intended, and what a save. Oh my goodness, Billy Smith trying to recover after his incident, caused another incident. Look at that wheel work.
Oh, man.
Oh my
goodness. What a save. Give this man a medal. That was incredible.
I'm gonna try and see if we can get him in for an interview post-race.
Yeah, I want to see what kind of black wizardry that man is doing. As we have Staub now getting by Aubrey Kundal after Kundal got held up with the traffic. So we have a battle here in the final few seconds of GT4. This is your race leader just ahead, so we were on the final lap this time by, and they will have checkered flags. This is a battle to the line for these two.
And you can see Aubrey trying to take that outside line, try and get early on the back straight here. Oh, looks like she's gaining, but just too little too late to try and make it before the end.
Yeah, Condell is going to have to put the blade between her teeth and see if she can try to make something. They've got a Miata up onto the outside. Hopefully that Miata doesn't cause a little bit of black wizardry. Condell's setting up for a move as they're getting nose to tail with each other, as they only have a few more corners to go, but these are the toughest corners to pass, and there is chaos up ahead. If you're looking at the mini-map, cars all over the place. Hopefully they get that fixed off right there. And those incidents are cleared. So they're coming up into the carousel. Very tricky part of the track, but Stab is looking like they have got that settled in right there as Skier comes across the line and takes the victory here at Mid-Ohio. And they're followed by Stab and Kundal, and Smith and Pies are still out on track. Slavovic Savonik is in the... I don't know why I said that.
We're going to start getting a $1 jar every time we mispronounce people's names.
I'll be broke by then.
I was gonna say, yeah, who does the money go to? Because I'm gonna need to open up a loan just to be able to pay them every race.
It'll be for the Great Saves Fund. As much as the field spread out towards the end of this race, we still saw some great racing. We're seeing it here as the rest of the drivers try and bring it home over the finish line.
Yeah, we really
Definitely, indeed.
It's not... I really think that towards the latter stages of this race, we necessarily didn't see a lot of action within classes. We saw a lot of action with the multi-class aspect of racing and the classes intermingling with each other and having issues and things like that, but that truly is part of multi-class racing. I mean, more times than not, the majority of the incidents that happen during a multi-class race are class on class, not necessarily drivers within the classes getting into it with each other.
And there's a last-minute pass right before the finish line. Who was that in GT4 there?
I don't think that was a pass for position.
Ah, okay.
I believe that was just a pass.
That was... Someone went wide
TCR
on turn one.
Yep, he's on the other side of the track now. That's how far he yeeted it off there. That is Price. No, that was not Price.
Oh! Oh!
The demo derby.
Oh, here we go. And with that, let's take in your final race results of the evening. Austin, take us through it if you can finish laughing.
That made my...
I can do this. Taking the win today, it's Elliott Seeker and the Mid-Ohio Teletor. Okay, we're not doing that. Taking the win today, it's Elliott Skier ahead of Billy Smith second, who is still missing his front hood, with Chris Pies in third place, followed by John D. Price, Lee Peterson, David Staub, Aubrey Kundal, Andrew Nash, Peter Morden, Will Choice, and James Swearigan in the GTOs. Taking the win in your GT1 class, it's Paul Savonik, Jordan Musser, Brian Zavelski, Adam Furla, Daniel Sadro, Alex Nielsen. Got to scroll down now. John Jason with Chris Sarin finishing right behind, and finishing in the Mustangs victory. That's Christian Song, followed by Austin Henry, RJ Till, Andrew Chow, Nathan Strawlin, Pill Fitzmaurice, JT Tommy, and that is your with Corey Mitchell at the end of there. And then for the MX5s, Adam Rylance takes the victory, followed by Jared Joseph, Todd Carver, Mike Bond, Stevie Ray, Lucas Wallace, Alex Zuga, Greg Bachway, Ben Wedge, who gets the Save of the Century award right there. Finished 9th place, but what a save he had.
Yeah, wonderful
Joseph
race.
Marr, Brian Griggs, Lonnie Unser, Simon Foweather, Greg Mack, and Mitchell Peak, Joe Valdez, and Brennan Huron finishes up this 51 car grid race here in the iWRL at Mid Ohio. Whew.
Wow. That was impressive to watch, and it looks like we've got some of the drivers already showing up for post-race interviews. Let's see here. Do we have? Yes.
Well, I see our Mustang winner, Chris DeShong, in there, so let's bring him in for an interview right now. Howdy, 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 Chris. How are you doing? Chris, this is Austin in the booth. How are you doing?
Hey, Austin, pleasant to hear from you.
Pleasant to hear from you, too, after the second time. You took the win today in the Mustangs. It looks like you were actually out of contention for the win, but something happened in the pit stop, and he actually jumped Austin Henry. So you were chasing for most of the race, and it was seeming like it was unable to catch him, but you did catch him, and you start pulling away from him. So how was that?
Well, what I think happened was I'm pretty sure Austin's running a sprint setup, which is faster than mine for about 20 laps. But after that, he kind of plateaued. Him and I were about 5-6 seconds apart from each other. He ran into an accident or something along that around the back half of the track and was out on track for another 3 or 4 laps and then came into pit road. Beyond that, I really don't know what else happened to him. It just magically he was in front of me, then he was 4 seconds behind, and then 20 seconds behind.
Well, that's just racing for you. Never quit until it's all over. So you're standing on top of the podium and drinking a little bit of that bubbly and sitting in P1.
I think everyone was drinking a little bubbly tonight the way the traffic was.
It certainly was tight, wild, and twisty, especially at the end of the race.
Oh my God, it was absolutely ridiculous. I think that's actually partially what helped me take the win tonight. During pit stops, I did not take tires, which was a risky move, but like I said, it ended up putting me 20, 30 seconds ahead of Austin, yeah. And he was catching me there towards the end. He just ran out of time.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, congrats on the win. Before we let you go, anyone who wanted to shout out?
First of all, Stevie Ray for hosting this. WRL, it's awesome to have their name on board, especially with them promoting this. And since I think we're the only type of sport left right now with the freaking coronavirus. But go ahead.
Just avoid saying that.
Ah, right. Okay.
YouTube likes to police it.
Ah, right. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, with us being the only sport, I'm happy to be able to put on a show for everyone watching.
All right. Thank you, Chris. You have yourself a good old night.
Thank you, you too, Austin.
All right. That is Chris DeShong, winner of the Mustangs. And I now think we have somebody waiting for the interview that we all really want to talk to right now. We gave him the Save of the Century Award. So let's bring in Mr. Ben Wedge to talk about that insane save he did with 2 minutes to go. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can you guys hear me all right?
Oh, we can hear you just absolutely perfect. Crystal clear, actually.
Sweet. Definitely did not steal a headset from my employer.
Well, I think you need it. I think if you were able to get away with stealing something, you certainly stole our hearts away with that amazing save. Coming from Billy Smith, he got swiped around the outside coming out of turn 1, and the wheel work you did to save that Miata from just absolute disaster was awesome. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so it was scary. In a real car, I probably would have pooed myself. In iRacing,
we call them.
would have done all right. No, so the lap before, it was almost the same situation. I think it was also with Bill Smith behind me. I went into turn 1 and I got loose. I hit the curb on the inside, and then he went around me on the outside. And then at some point in that lap, he lost it, ended up behind me again. Well, the next lap, he caught me at the same spot, and and I was following the normal line, and I'm thinking he thought I was going to go to the inside again and let him have the outside. So a little bit of a goof up on my part, but yeah, there's a little bit of contact and wheels came off the ground, and yeah, I don't actually know how I saved it, but I did, so I'll take it.
You can take it with a good old points paying finish. It was in ninth place. Didn't have the best race so far, but you definitely have the highlight of the race up here in the commentary booth.
And in the YouTube chat, the audience is loving you.
Awesome. Well, much appreciated.
All right. Well, before we let you go, anyone who want to shout out?
I guess my teammates at Flatline Performance, Ryan Hammond and Preston Jordan. I think they both ran like the first race and then didn't, but we're still hoping to get our real race car back out and running. We blew it up at a WRL race about 2 years ago and have been slowly working to get her back together. So we're hoping at some point to get back out and race in the real WRL. No offense to the iWRL.
None taken. Well, thanks again. I mean, that was a pleasure to watch. I guess, Austin, I'll let you run the show here.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. I hope you have a good night. Next up is our Porsche GT4 or GTO overall winner, Elliot Skier. Elliot, how are you doing?
Not too bad. A little sweaty, but holy cow, that was fun.
It definitely looked like you were having fun. You had a very exciting start of the race, qualified second, then you jumped up to take the lead, and you just really kept on going and going and going, and you took the win.
Yeah, that start, it was funny. We did a race last night with all the GTE cars around here, and half the field, including me, spun it in turn one. So I kind of had that mental note going into here. So no, it all worked out. The traffic was super smooth and flowing. Obviously, Mid-Ohio is such a flowing track. You almost have to drive it like a ballerina on tippy toes, just dancing around and carving your way through traffic and just going with the flow of it. And yeah, really good time out there.
Yeah, we're saying on how important it is to be smooth and calculated with overtaking traffic. Was there any sketchy traffic along there? Some of the drivers earlier said, I think some of the lower class guys were drinking and driving from what it seemed.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of unpredictability with different cars and different capabilities, but at the end of the day, kind of my motto in racing in real and in sim is minimize time lost. And if that means backing out of going into an entry and then getting a late apex and getting out of the exit of the corner, that's what I have to do. But no, it was very well balanced traffic. Yeah, you just start to find the rhythm of the pace, the good people, the bad people, the ones to look out for, the ones you can trust. And, 20 minutes in, you're just in a groove. So it was great fun.
Well, you're certainly in a groove to win. Congrats on the win, Elliot. Before we let you go, anyone you want to shout out?
Obviously, everyone at WRL, both the real series and the sim, have just been so much fun to be a part of. All the guys putting it on at ACI Motorsports are a great group and just great fun to be with it all. And yeah, first race in the series. Can't wait to do some more.
All right. Well, we're certainly glad to have you here, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks, guys. See you around.
Congrats, Elliot.
And now we're bringing in our winner in the TCR, Paul Slavonic. How are you doing, Paul?
Man, I'm not quite sure. I need to do a mental check after that race. It was pretty nutty at times.
It certainly looked nutty. We saw so many things with the TCRs versus the GT4s, and you being faster than a lot of the GT4s. You finished 8th overall in a 17-car GT4 field, which is even more nutty that you finished in the top 50% of the top class. So walk us through that race. What was the most tense part?
Well, you said it, the GT4 field. I mean, I saw from practice that we were probably all going to be pretty close on times. I didn't expect to be inside the top 10. That was totally, like I said, totally unexpected. But yeah, managing the traffic, some of the guys were very cordial about, if you caught up to them from several seconds back, they would let you go. I was stuck behind a slower GT4 car for a majority of the race, pretty much I mean, I wasn't really fighting with anyone else in my class, so I didn't force the issue. So I just kind of hung back there. So I think that was really the toughest part. I mean, I know the GT4 is the new car. Everyone wants to give it a run, but on this track with multi-class race, it's already a tight track to begin with. I knew it was going to be some tense moments.
Well, it certainly was tense for you for a little bit, but near the end, it was pretty smooth sailing as you took the win with a pretty comfortable margin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what happened to the other TCR guys. We had a good little battle up at the front, and I haven't looked at the replay or looked at the broadcast yet, but I'm willing to bet it was just traffic that separated us all. Jordan had a pretty amazing time right off the bat with getting pole, and I really was looking forward to having a good fight with him. But he messaged me afterwards. I think he got either hit by a GT4 or got tied up in something. But yeah, I was just really looking forward to having a battle. We had a much bigger TCR class than we did last time. So yeah, I mean, the season still has some races to go. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with growing the TCR class and maybe shrinking the GT4 class a little bit. I think that wouldn't be a bad thing.
I'll let the admins decide on that one. I'm not going to put my opinion in there. But congrats on taking the win in the TCRs. Before we let you go, anyone who want to shout out?
Just iRacing in general for keeping us thoroughly entertained during this most tumultuous time.
Thank you. You have yourself a good old night. Tyler, any closing comments?
Not anything from me, but it was definitely an exciting one here from Mid-Ohio, and I'm definitely excited for the next race that will occur here in this series in just 2 weeks' time. So we will have one break week like usual, and then we'll come back to the series. But I think I'll just let you cap this one off, Austin. It was an amazing race today, and it's definitely going to be awesome for the rest of the season.
Well, we do have Daniel here as well, and I was going to let Daniel to give us a little sneak peek next time we're live for the World Racing League iRacing Series. Daniel, what can we expect next week, next race?
Well, next race, it sounds like we've had verbal commitments for a few more drivers, so we may need to figure out how to deal with a 60 car field. But we're coming back to Canadian Motorsports Park in 2 weeks, and right after that, I believe Sonoma Raceway. So we've got a couple, technical tracks that have a little bit of elevation change mid-corner. So it's probably going to look and feel a lot like this. Not as many passing zones as some of the bigger, more open tracks that we had. So I'm really excited to see, the battles for each of these classes heat up, especially with the new entry in GP3 to kind of shake it up on Jared Joseph and Todd Carver.
All right, you heard it here. 2 weeks from now, iWRL is going to be live from Mosport, and it's going to be a race, certainly one not to miss. I've been joined by Daniel Doer. Tyler Maxon has been up in the booth providing all these wonderful graphics, and I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.